Sabe, bisiklet düşünce bak.
Men tao quay đâm cắt cơ sang ngô đâu.
Bisiklet diyemem. O bilir. İşte nasıl siyasi. Oui?
Ừ. Fai.
Good evening, everyone. I hope the screen is visible and audio is also audible.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Are there any questions of the previous classes? Fine. We'll move on to the week two. So, our week two covers the importance of decent work and its relation to the economic growth with a few case studies alongside. So, we are talking in terms of empowering the people and in turn helping the country in terms of driving the growth, for which we need to understand what is the decent work and what type of economic activities will help us to achieve better results. So, to begin with, decent work is defined as a fair, secure, and equal employment that respects the worker's rights and dignity. So, it includes jobs with fair wages, social protection, and equal treatment for all the genders. We know that employment is not just about income, it's about social participation and empowerment of the people. So, employment should give us fair work environments, allowing freedom of expression and worker voice through unions. So, healthy and motivated workers contributed to economic growth by spending more and raising the living standards. So, it should be equal opportunity employer, whether it's government or private. So, we should know that this kind of foundation ensures that the economic progress benefits everyone and not just a select few people who are driving the growth, but it should reach the larger masses. So, economic growth benefits from decent work. The first benefit is like stable incomes are required for all the people, and alongside, even for the growth to happen, there should be equal consumption of what is being earned. So, driving in turn demands the economy, because unless there is demand, there cannot be growth in terms of the mass production which is attained by the industries. So the workers with secure jobs are more likely to invest in education, housing, and healthcare. As we all know, in India, education is becoming too expensive, and also healthcare, because these two areas have not deserved the kind of import, important policies which is required given the large population size. And other industries have grown, but improving it on a long term basis is required for the societal well being. So in short, inclusive growth is required, and together we should have social cohesion. So inclusive growth basically ensures that marginalized groups, especially the women and the youth, are also benefiting, and there is no disparity in terms of understanding the level of education at, because there is a lot of dropouts during the, let us say, primary education, secondary level, then at the 10 plus 2 level and graduation levels. See, these dropouts are due to several economic reasons only. So inclusive growth should be attained only when there are stronger tax bases from stable incomes, and government is able to tax with those people whose incomes are stably growing over a period of time. So in cases of public services like education and healthcare, that needs to be funded with a higher margin in their annual budgets, creating a virtuous cycle of development. But the problem with decent work is not everybody is able to match their skills with a kind of employment. yeah, in terms of education, a degree is required, but skills is not given by every organization. So barriers to decent work is there's a mismatch between skills and the level of work which is given. So even a very knowledgeable person finds it not being able to satisfy the requirements and that leads to semi unemployment or partial unemployment. And in turn, in certain conditions, it becomes unsafe to work over a period of time. That's why people move from one areas or one geographies to another set of geographies. Similarly, at the global level also, there are certain challenges like unemployment and underemployment are there in many countries, especially among the youth, because the youth is more concerned about how they can find suitable jobs that match their not only education but also skills. So ability is one thing and suitability is another thing. But in our country, eligibility is given priority than ability and suitability. So degree may give you eligibility, but finally is the suitability which is going to drive, and that can come only when assurance is given by the organizations in terms of equality, in terms of hourly wages, and in terms of guarantee that one day they are going to become the leaders. Alongside, people also have other jobs which are more or less getting automated, and AI are disrupting traditional jobs, particularly in low skill sectors. So jobs that are monotonous, which are repetitive, are losing the charm because it can be done by machines. And poor working conditions expose the workers to health risk and reduce productivity. So all this is leading that these barriers are disproportionately affecting the developing countries, whereas l- labor protections are weak. Means we are far behind in terms of deciding how much should be our hourly wage and how much should be the monthly wage, whereas other countries have gone ahead in terms of their legislations. But our legal system is also very slow. So these are some of the challenges which we find in the global market in terms of getting the people employed. And another thing is gender inequality. So in rural areas, women face limited access due to traditional upbringing, and despite having strong community ties, caregiving skills are still lesser. Like a babysitting sitting may not be easily available in case of rural areas. So this leads to economic dependency and reduced household income. So earlier, very only one person will be able to take care of the entire family's needs. Nowadays, in spite both husband and wife working, it may not be enough to consider the larger families, especially when the skills which are imparted are not adequate enough. So, one hand, vocational training is required, spread of vocational training is required. On another hand, improvement in the skills to enhance the same technologically, you have to update yourself. So, for instance, a young farmer in Uttar Pradesh lost his job due to mechanization. So suddenly there is a job loss. So without retraining, he struggled to find alternative employment. In order to find newer job, he has to retrain himself, and he has to highlight the need for skills aligned with the market demands. So let's try to understand a little bit of what kind of relationship all of that has with the role of healthcare and non-profit organizations with fair work and through community action. So a lot of burden is there on the shoulders of non-profit organizations. So healthcare is one of them, of course, and developing critical
అంటే
skills.
ఒక ఈ రోజు రివిజన్ 1 రేపేమో రివిజన్ 2 ఆ రోజు మండే ఏమో రివిజన్ 3 థర్స్డే ఏమో
Noise is coming.
అలా పట్టచ్చు కదా ఈ ఆర్ టి వై ఈ బో ఈ గో టి రి కే కో క కం కం క హ హ క అహ పిల్లో స్టెప్ Still step. Pinky promise for a as long as PPF. ఆరు ఋద్వికనా
అవి ఎట్లా అవడమే చూస్తున్నాను నేను కూడా.
ఋద్వికనా మా ఆరు ఋద్వికనా హలో
ఆ, ముందు వారం విన్నాను కదా. ముందు వారం 2 క్లాసులు విన్నాను.
కనపడుతుందా ఒక నాకు కూడా వెంట
మాట్లాడే కదా మన మాటలు వినిపిస్తున్నాయట అక్కడ. బాబు నా మాటలు వినిపిస్తున్నాయట అక్కడ.
So a lot of responsibility is there on the shoulders of non-profit organizations because skills training is expensive and advocating fair labor practices is becoming challenging because everyone is not getting their share of fair labor wages. So they create an employment opportunity for the underprivileged communities, especially youth and women, like construction workers, tailors, barbers, everyone, including maids at home. They should have adequate knowledge of what is a fair labor practice, how much is their minimum wage. So they promote occupational safety and wellness programs. They should be made aware to improve the workers' health. So such campaigns against the child labor. So if you go to a restaurant or nearby dhaba, you will find child labor being employed who are 14 years or younger, and they are into forced labor and they are coming from various places, far away places, and basically it's a form of modern day exploitation. So, for instance, a rural health center in Odisha trained 300 women in digital skills, which is required these days, and the government has to support both not only digital skills but hygiene management as well as other things in order to ensure that their jobs are more secure and in the local clinics and also in the NGOs or the non-government or non-profit organizations. So such kind of drives will improve the livelihood conditions but also strengthen the community resilience and social trust. So the real world impact is like in some cases, there are associations, a non-profit in Tamil Nadu partner with the local government to launch a women's entrepreneurship program, like a stitching program or a tailoring program or a public speaking program or carpet making, each and every small thing like making kind of matchsticks. So there are over 500 women started small business agri processing units and handicrafts, creating local jobs in the district level and taluka level, reducing their migration to cities. So they are there in the villages primarily because they are employed over there. So that's how you can ensure that a lot of migration towards cities can be withheld or at least restored back to their original places where uh, you know there is unskilled labor which is directly jumping onto cities, leaving behind the entire set of population from the rural beds. So improving such working conditions is also required. For instance, a healthcare NGO in Bihar introduced safety first training program for factory workers, because unless these are taught, people are likely to face a lot of problems. So after implementation, the injuries have dropped by 40% and worker satisfaction increased significantly. So like things like hygiene, things like some kind of techniques, in technology and safety and environmental requirements. All these things could be called as strategies for inclusive growth, and that cannot be taken by individuals alone. But nowadays, as we were discussing in the previous class, there is corporate social responsibility that 2% of whatever profits are earned by the companies, that has to be dedicated towards these kind of activities through identifying the NPOs or non-profit organizations and the NGOs. So promoting entrepreneurship among youth and women drives the innovation and regional development. So this is required in order to create balance among the societies. Encouraging startups and new jobs will create empowerment. Aligning the education whereby market needs improve employability through skill training. Digital inclusion ensures that equal access to financial services like creation of a bank account, giving loans for purchase of, let us say, sewing machine or a washing machine or a solar, let us say, installation of solar water, and so many other things. So, sustainable business practices should evolve, which are eco friendly, and ethical sourcing has to be also understood. Ethical sourcing is, suppose you're buying some clothes, you have to try to see that you're not buying from a company which employs the child labor, or you're buying something very important for your house. So, ethical sourcing is nothing but you are making sure that you are buying it from a decently good company. So, that is known as decent growth. So, these strategies ensure that the growth is not just measurable but also equitable and sustainable. Now, another case in point is skill development in action. In Rajasthan, a government-led skill development program trained 10,000 youth in solar panel installation. So something which is very new, like all advances are happening through science. So whatever things you're seeing around are mainly due to developments in scientific areas. But just improvement in science or invention or innovation may not be enough. It requires skill development at the grassroots level. Like a majority of them shifted on to how technicians course, like solar panel installation technician course. So these workers now work both in rural and urban projects, reducing the unemployment and creating green jobs. So such kind of models are the things which are coming up in terms of employability, and sustainable and gender inclusive models are also required. So in West Bengal, and women-led cooperative West Bengal launched a sustainable farming model using organic methods. So our organic foods are being grown in areas which were not popularly known for that. So it is not only improving yields but also provided fair wages and safe working conditions for women farmers. So India's decent and growth framework is becoming to be a reality in certain states because of certain initiatives at both national level as and international levels as well. So the international level organization, decent work agenda, ILO, they have agenda or a policy which we call it as decent work agenda, and UNDP's program is for inclusive growth, for fair treatment and social protection and job creation. So the more the jobs are being created, the more good it is for the economy. And in India, we all know the job guarantee scheme, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that is the MGNREGA, which guarantees 100 days of employment. So in all the rural households, if anybody is not having a job, the government has to be ready to give that the jobs, 100 days of jobs. Like Startups India also has started encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship, especially among the women and also the youth. So the Skill India Mission also is a similar kind of program which trains over 400 million people by 2025 in diverse vocational fields. So these are some of the initiatives which are improving the decent works and economic growth in a particular region. These initiatives are designed for fair jobs for sustainable progress, ensuring that dignity and equality and opportunity are availed by all the people equally. So this Manrega program, for instance, a village in Madhya Pradesh funds to build a community health center, because every taluka or district is not equipped with good facilities or the clinics. So under these programs, it is not only giving them the opportunity to work, but also they are creating health centers. So this created 50 jobs and enable local women to learn nursing, okay, and hygiene management. Another example is Startup India, a youth startup in Hyderabad, supported by Startup India, developed a mobile app for rural job matching. So earlier, this Naukri.com or Monster.com or LinkedIn or whatever, we are more familiar with the larger cities in which jobs are available. But now, some startups have come up which are like local apps or Apna local or whatever you call them, or wherever they have started. These are helping local level people to find suitable jobs, which is mix and match of according to their skills. So it helped 2,000 youth find employment in agriculture. Because agriculture is one area where people have been leaving so suddenly and they're not easily available at in entire India. There are lesser workers in agriculture. Of course, women workers are there, but um, the amount of money which they are generating is lesser. So a startup India like this helps to ensure that they learn agri tech or they know how to use various devices and they take agriculture more, you know, over a period of time on a long term basis, and they can make it sustainable, reducing the youth migration from one region to another region. And engage, advocate, and empower. So what we have seen throughout is decent growth can be done only when you engage with the people, only when you stand for advocacy of certain policies of the government, and only when empowerment can happen, then economic conditions of the local general masses in a given geography can, you know, be adhered as per what is planned. There are big plans, but implementation requires engagement, advocacy, and empowerment. So, just a poll question. People who say yes, you can type Y in case of yes. So, how many of you can disseminate key messages about decent work and fair wages to a workers' community? If you want to educate people near you, how many of you actively get encouraged partnership with non-profit organizations? How many of you are really interested in working alongside the youth and women for the NPO? And type Y, how many of you advocate for social protection in local employment? This is the first question. Let me see how many of you are telling me why. Chat box. Please type Y in case if you have shown some interest in supporting and giving important information to the population. Yeah, another thing is the note is given here that your answer will be considered to assess the understanding that you have understood what I am talking about. That's also equally important. So kindly type Y in case you have shown some interest in educating or having some kind of dissemination of information towards what is a fair wage in a particular kind of work, and how many of you at the same time are encouraging for people to join the non-profit organization and advocate social protection at what is minimum wage and ensures that what kind of opportunities are there for the people. Kindly type Y in the chat box, please. Hello. Yes, somebody has answered. Ernest Poller answered, it enhances social responsibility in developing the local community, right? It helps for the livelihood of the local community. Yes, that's true. Only Ernest Poller answered. What about others? How many of you have shown concern? Yes. Ambili Vasudevan, yes. Correct. You have shown some concern that what is the labor in a particular industry, whether it's construction industry, health industry, or that's a different issue. It may be very tailoring industry also. It may be any kind of fair wage which people are likely to. At least you should be able to know how much people, a little bit of care you have shown in terms of their education is concerned, in terms of sharing what is social protection for them and what is job security. Okay, that is first question. Second question is, if you are unable to answer the first one, and the second answer also you are expected to type why only. How many of you can promote awareness of Indian government initiatives like Manrega, Startup India, Skill India missions? Okay, anybody? If you have known these missions, type why, which addresses the unemployment and gender inequality. Yes, correct. Shalini Nair, correct. Fair enough. So all your answers, please try, because what happens is this is considered telling, even answering one of the questions will be considered as your attendance. Okay. Yes. So thank you both, Shalini and Ernest, as we go ahead in the class. The second part of our session is industry innovation infrastructure. So I've seen what is the meaning of industry. Many lot of companies to come together is known as a group of companies becomes an industry. Innovation is something scientific advancement happening in their particular field, which is implemented suddenly. That is innovation. And infrastructure is overall development of railroad, airways, and infrastructure like bridges, canals, flyovers, subways. These are all required for infrastructure. So the second topic of today is industry innovation infrastructure, which act as a foundation for development. So the three pillars of development. First is industry. So these are the pillars for growth of our socio-economic conditions. So industry encompasses large scale activities such as we need certain, because in, let us say, in Tamil Nadu, if you take example, there are large 5 cities which are very well developed, unlike other states which may have only 1 or 2 cities, because manufacturing has more or less equally developed. Okay, maybe some for textiles, some for automobiles. That is a different issue, and some for high level, IT companies or something like that. But then, over a period of time, there are cities which have to evenly grow. For instance, where there is a lot of construction happening, there's a lot of innovation there also. Not that construction industry doesn't have innovation. And similarly, you have to come up with healthcare and pharmaceuticals. India being the leader in terms of supplying generic medicines to US, so 30% of uh, American medicines, or rather more, are relying on India's generic medicine. So pharmaceutical companies in India are also one of the pillars for the entire world. So innovation involves creating new solutions like renewable energy. Now these energies could be again biogas or wind energy or solar energy, like that. And digital healthcare tools are also developed. So that you should be aware about which are the companies which are to try to do a little bit of assignment as to which devices or which are the startups which are successful in launching the devices, like a small device, like how to give a type of let's say check the BP or also check the sugar levels. So there are many devices, including how many steps we walk. So this like your the watches kind of thing which are there. So there are various devices coming nowadays in the market, which is helping you to improve the status or the quality of life throughout advanced ages. So we are using advanced medicines. I mean, medicines, not only medicines but devices also. So infrastructure also includes like roads, power grids. We got, I mean, it's very known like generator is available, and solar is available, and windmills are available. Similarly, hospitals are having better infrastructure in development of their internal communication. All these are nothing but symptoms of growth and development, economic growth and development. So these elements are deeply interconnected, forming dynamic growth cycle, which where infrastructure enables industry and funds for innovation, and innovation centers like incubation centers are there in certain universities. Okay, there are top level like IIT Madras or ISC Bangalore. Like many institutions are there whereby funds are allocated by the government in order to come up with a suitable kind of innovation. So innovation is also equally important apart from the industry. And infrastructure, of course, goes hand in hand. The kind of quality of the roads on which we are already started using, the kind of bridges or flyover they are using. So together they create a self-reinforcing system that is essential for the long-term development. And it is an interdependent cycle. Okay, so all these kind of requirements like infrastructure, if it is developed by the government properly, that helps the industries to grow around that area. For instance, the latest one, you can say that Mumbai Delhi corridor or the expressway. There are many companies which are coming across the Mumbai Delhi. Nobody used to travel between Mumbai and Delhi on on a particular road. Now that corridor is enabling you to come up with a lot of industries. There are newer cities around existing cities, so that will help the power grids and development of delivery of energy throughout those cities. So that is going to reduce the operational cost of artificially installing the newer smart cities. Okay, so you don't have to worry which smart city is coming up, but if you enable the infrastructure in a particular long term basis, then there are nearby cities which automatically spring up over a period of time. So this is going to fuel such kind of development of industry, fuels the innovation. On one hand, development of infrastructure enables the industry. On another hand, industry is going to fuel the innovation. So industry in turn generates revenue and investment that fund innovation, and manufacturing and energy sectors allocate capital to research and development. So if you invest now, it will take 5 to 6 years to have its own features in the product, because the research and development is a long-term process. If you invest heavily now, okay, if you let us say if you are investing on improvement of features in a battery, then the battery's features will eventually change over a period of 5 to 6 years, and that is suitable for many of your devices, not just mobile phones. We can use battery for various devices. So that kind of R&D has to have backup in order to improve the products. So it can mean a lot for the global impact. For instance, charging stations are coming up, and electrical car charging station, electrical scooter, and electrical bus. So all these require large scale development. You cannot invest alone. So economic and social advantages are there. Industrialization helps to improve the national income and productivity, leading to sustained economic growth. So it creates jobs across both skilled and unskilled sector, because not every one of us are skilled. Some are we are good in some skills, some other people are good in some other skills. So it is best to identify and find consultancy or counseling, and then come to a conclusion that what kind of jobs are available and which geographies. So that kind of a database has to be created, especially if the cities are known for a particular thing, like particular kind of industry. So innovation introduces new products and services that improve the quality of life, including the eco-friendly technologies and digital tools. So these digital tools are making the lives more better. Infrastructure supports essential services like education and healthcare, ensuring broader access and equity. So sustainable innovations such as the renewable energy and waste reduction contribute to the environmental health and climate resilience. So both socially and economically, it is going to be advantageous. Now, the very first thing is, if anybody is starting a hospital, it should be accessible, or a clinic, it should be very accessible. So, for instance, if there is a pharmaceutical industry, it relies heavily on cold chains. The chain should be accessible, okay, and even the transport system should be accessible. Only then the medicines can be delivered globally. Without reliable infrastructure, even the most advanced drugs cannot reach the remote places. And that is the reason why, because of certain area wise distribution of this infrastructure development, areas were not developed. Otherwise, majority of the tier 2 cities in certain states have already been able to depend on these cold chains. Next is innovation enhances infrastructure. Smart transport systems is what is required. Renewable energy innovations have. So over a period of time, you might have seen the improvement in the buses, the type of old buses which people used to travel, and now the buses have improved. Even the city buses have improved with automatic door and able to get your ticket online also. That all these infrastructure sustainability has improved and reducing the carbon emission. So you don't have to print ticket and all those things. Automatically it comes up on your mobile, and long-term operational costs are also reduced. So innovation enhances the support of the infrastructure. So whether going to a clinic or going to a nearby hotel, it can all be done much in a planned way. So these are the real world interactions which the IT industry is able to enable all other industries, so that the real world cases can be easily understood, like what kind of minimum changes or gradual changes, can say, are happening over a period of time. But then there are little challenges also. The key challenges are everyone doesn't have a good road access. The smaller villages do not have as much of good roads as a tier 2 or tier 1 city has. Electricity in remote areas may not be regular, or there may be disruption, like there is a cut, power break is there, or power failure. Digital connectivity like Wi-Fi access are bleak if you go to certain areas. So these are the normal challenges which anybody will face, like large scale infrastructure projects in developing nations. But industrial pollution also, and overuse of natural resources, which you are seeing in a larger city, because you are over dependent on a larger city. Like India has having so many larger cities. I mean, I don't think there is any other country having so many larger cities. Okay, there are larger cities. I'm not denying that, but it has, the Indian cities, the metro cities, has been becoming so large that it is adding on to industrial pollution, overuse of natural resources, mismatch between what is what required, like basic water or transportation and all those things. So the industrial demands cannot be met easily if there's a big mismatch between the workforce capabilities and industry, because all the skilled workforce will jump onto the cities, unskilled or semi-skilled will live behind in the villages. So this digital divide restricts innovation in regions with limited internet access. So nowadays, wherever there is accessibility, there the digital divide is reducing, but still there is a digital divide. There is a divide between why city residents are able to have access to technology, and adoption rates are higher, frequency and speed with which they are learning is better, and economic progress is happening there. So addressing these challenges requires a coordinated policy and investment in inclusive planning. Now, in a way, NGOs are helping to build this capacity, and NGOs are in a way helping this accessibility also. Okay, so expanding need not be on the basis of only private players. These non-governmental organizations which are not for profit can also build their set of mobile clinics. Okay, they can have dental clinics. They can have essential sanitation, medical services like disposables or giving syringes or giving various other requirements for the patients where they are otherwise unavailable. They have to move from villages to cities in order to get treated or operational, something like that. So such kind of development is very much in expectation and driving medical innovation. So the fund which is required to do that can come only with donation. People who are donating to NGOs, basically, it is going to help them in distributing the vaccines and diagnostic at a very cheaper rate, and digital health technologies like devices or medical startups, medtech, and alongside edtech, that improve the affordability and accessibility to both education and health. So sustainable development is going to be helping us to build all these inclusive systems. Sustainable industrialization and innovation also, like your local circular economy, also should help the environmental sustainability, not just the economic sustainability, but environmental sustainability is going to help reduce the waste and lower the emissions and foster inclusive development. Resilient infrastructure that communities withstand like shocks like natural disasters or calamities or economic downturns. So innovation is strategically focused on social benefit. So any kind of innovation that cannot be commercialized immediately. It takes a lot of R&D. It takes 5 to 6 years in order to understand whether people need it or not in the first place. Okay, for instance, you have a electrical bike. Okay, so electrical bike is required, but who is going to buy for a particular mileage? So if your job does not involve travel, very less mileage bike is also okay. But if you're in sales and marketing, then you may require a lot of mileage for the electrical. And in certain other people, carrying goods from one place to another place require a lot of storage. Okay, like for instance, supplying medicines to various remote areas. Okay, like how supplying courier services in a very remote area, it requires storage size. So what one customer may require, another customer may require, one person may require mileage, another person may require storage. So what actually happens is, unless you know where this innovation is going to be used, it cannot be strategically focused. So innovation has to be strategically focused on social benefit first of all. For the social benefit only is everybody is working. So improving the health access, reducing unemployability, and promoting social inclusion. These models aligns with the United Nations SDG. It is Sustainable Development Goal number 9, which is emphasizing on the resilient infrastructure, inclusive industrialization. So simply building big in companies and making very large products. That was the old time industrialization. Okay, installing huge machines and all, that was a old school. Nowadays, innovation and sustainable development for our healthcare industry has to be distributed industrialization at the various nooks and corners of the country, and that can reduce the inequalities between people and these gaps in opportunity. This is known as bridging the gaps in the opportunity. So first of all, let's try to understand what is inequality in the first place. Okay, first is economic inequality. People whose income is more versus people whose income is less. And gender inequality. Jobs are given to men only in certain areas, jobs are not given to women. Another thing is decision making. Even women are given, but they are not given topmost positions in certain companies. So education disproportionately, because only with the degree they can come despite having the skill. So degree becomes your requirement in order to give the conditioning of eligibility. So even that degree has to be from a standard branded university. So what happens is, there is a disparity in rural and low income communities whereby quality schooling is often lacking. So over a period of time, this kind of lack of quality schooling in terms of skills, when they grow up, they come to know that they have not learned in a good school. So that leads to social discrimination based upon caste, race, religion, and that creates unnecessary exclusionary environment. And these kind of geographical inequalities also will have, because in undeserved or underserved areas, they are having limited access to both clinics, in education, infrastructure, digital connectivity, and many other things. So these overlapping kind of things are known as inequalities. It's not just money, which we are talking, but the lived experiences of millions of people, which we know that the discrimination in terms of levels of education, the discrimination in terms of gender, in terms of the level of post which they are given, and all such understanding is required, that where is it really unequal. So first of all, if you go to rural area, they can also be provided with tabs and laptops, and they don't have a power. How they can afford charging? They will be given laptops and tablet. Who is going to charge and who is going to pay the power bill? So solar power tablets, remote villages were given, enabling access to digital learning. This intervention helped close the education gap between the urban and rural children by offering interactive lessons in science and maths. So this is one kind of help which people are getting. And telemedicine in suburban areas, like there are urban slums in, let us say, Africa, in Nairobi. Mobile clinics are equipped with telemedicine tools. They can directly connect with patients. The doctor doesn't have to come to villages. Doctors can talk to the village people, because with GPS and telemedicine, he is able to reduce the anxiety and the travel time for every small reason. He doesn't have to travel from the village to the city, because this reduces the travel time and improves the early diagnosis of certain specific conditions like diabetes or hypertension, BP, sugar, and whatever it is. So telemedicine is helping them, especially when it's remote. Then mobile health clinics in rural areas in Bangladesh, for instance. NGOs deploy solar power medical vans to deliver basic healthcare in isolated villages. And these are able to provide vaccination, maternal care also sometimes. Okay. So disease screening. Okay, so to certain extent, I'm not telling that it will be as good as the hospital, but solar powered medical vans are there in Bangladesh, which are reducing the maternal mortality. Okay, so people dying during childbirth is reduced because this solar powered medical vans. Now, empowering training through skills in a country like Guatemala in South America. An NGO launched digital skills targeting the rural women using offline e-learning modules. This is offline e-learning. They are giving them certain handouts, like with digital design, with financial literacy. They are taught what is e-commerce, how to do e-commerce business. In India, it's nothing new, because the QR code is there in every, even the village. The fruit seller is also having QR code. So people are having phone pay and Google Pay also. So, but the same is not there, was not there in Guatemala in South America. So increasing the household income was able to be allowed with the gender equality was brought, equity was brought about, and this shows that how targeted training can transform the economic opportunities for marginalized women who are not able to earn much without the help of technology. So training in technology and training in digital skills help them to overcome their barrier of selling. They used to only use, like how they simply come and sell certain products by only talking, or in certain areas you might have seen that you can have mic to sell vegetables. There are so many people sitting in the sabzi mandi, or what you call that, vegetable area. So they are given mic in order to tell which is a vegetable which is being sold, what is the rate. Okay, so suddenly all of them are talking, so nobody can make out what they're actually selling, but that's a different issue. But they're empowered. Then, for instance, you got real life inclusive innovation is like women in digital marketing selling handmade handicrafts. So those things which were disconnected, well, like discontinued earlier, this handmade handicrafts. There are many communities which are still there having handmade handicrafts, but their accessibility to the reach to market can be improved when digital marketplace takes them seriously. And then students in rural school using tablets nowadays, one or two tablets are given in every nearby locality for science experiments. They know what is anatomy, what is the internal body structure, and how is space exploration happening. So they know both the inside of the human being and outside. So they can know and a little bit understand better science than what the previous generations have learned. And next is the doctor in remote villages using telemedicine. The telemedicine, very the van is being taken for consultation. So the consultation fee is reduced, because if a doctor wants to touch a hand, also is charging 500 rupees. Instead of that, this affordable telemedicine can be taken from one place to another place, and they can have kind of a setup like a toolkit they can come up with this kind of solution. These are the real life impact of inclusive innovations, which is going to help them bring about unification. Then another topic is sustainable cities. How to make the city living worth living. Okay, how to design those cities. Now most of the cities are urban spaces which are designed according to men. Like it were men only. There's a huge gap between if you climb a bus or if you're boarding a bus. For age old people, it becomes tough because the steps are very heighted. So what happens? The problem is they have to jump actually sometimes, or they have to sit on a cycle. Then they have to. So this is becoming a problem. So sustainable cities have to be developed. Cities have to have those kind of facilities. So what is a sustainable city definition? Means a sustainable city achieves a balanced integration of natural resources and energy systems. Okay, so not only natural resources, it should have energy systems also. So it should have social inclusivity to ensure long-term livability. Okay, it should be habitable over a period of time. People should not get fed up with the cities and they run back to their villages. So it prioritizes environmental stewardship while meeting the needs of the current and future generations. Efficient use of water, electricity, land is very central to this kind of a model. So unplanned growth should not be allowed anymore. So sustainable cities also should emphasize on ensuring that all residents, regardless of income or background, can thrive. They can live happily. So this balance supports the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which calls for safe, resilient, and inclusive urban environments. By aligning the economic, environmental, and social goals, sustainable cities become the models. Okay. So sustainable, like smart cities, sometimes they are profitable or sometimes they are successful in certain area. Smart cities plan have failed in certain other area, but sustainable city is better than a just a smart city. Smart city is technologically it is smart, but what about natural resources? What about lung space? What about greenery? What about energy systems? All that has to be included in sustainable city definition. And long-term viability and community well-being is what is the ultimate goal. So you have all kinds of energy here. You have got nuclear energy, you have got solar energy, you got windmill here, and the city should have all forms of energy. You cannot entirely depend on one form of energy and saying that this is only for my lighting or this is only for my water or something like that. So everybody should have rooftop solar panels that reduces on fossil fuels, that reduces coal or reliance on. You can have biogas also. They can recycle whatever the dry garbage is there, and they can take measures. And carbon footprint is also used, and public health is improved. So low carbon emissions are the call for the day. Low carbon. So more and more people have started using electrical vehicles, and public transport cuts and carbon emissions and reduces the congestion in the city. So they can park in a particular parking area. They can climb onto urban designed metros, and they can take care of their children and elderly in a much better way. So affordable housing is also being encouraged for betterment, like just like healthcare and education. So housing, healthcare, education, all these are possible because information and communication technology, smart grids have been established, and digital services are there to improve the city management, like city traffic or city water or city electricity or city education or city healthcare. All this has to ultimately reduce what? Carbon emissions. The cities have become overly exploited in terms of natural resources. So low carbon emission is the goal. In 2047, that is the goal. Low carbon emission, beginning with now. And ensuring inclusive design. Cities are often shifting towards low carbon mobility, expanding public transit. There are some cycles which are kept. People should use. In certain countries, cycles are being used. Okay, then electrifying those transport fleets are being used. This transition takes a lot of time in order to integrate. It can reduce the usage can reduce what? Greenhouse gases. Then urban planning now integrates green corridors and pedestrian zones. Some areas or only people can walk there, they cannot take their bike or car or something like that. So these are pedestrian zones. So they support active lifestyles. They should walk. They should reduce the dependency on vehicle. Okay, they can rely on at the best cycle. That's all it is. Next, environmental protection and public health. Okay, next topic is our environmental protection. So environment includes your air, water, soil, environmental, everything, of course. That is solid, liquid, gas. Solid is your soil, kind of quality of the soil. The soil should not be very artificial. It should become manually. I mean, it should become more nature friendly. Everything should be able to dissolve. That soil should be able to dissolve everything. And next is air and water. All this comes for what? Environmental quality checks, because ozone layer get affected, particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, all these measurements happening regularly. That should not cause any direct influence on respiratory diseases. More and more people, especially in Delhi, if you can see, respiratory diseases and waterborne illnesses. In Indore, recently, an entire community had to face some unclean water because the water had some other mix of sanitation water. So, waterborne illnesses and respiratory diseases are becoming more frequent, and green spaces has to be encouraged. Okay, the waste has to be treated differently. The sewage waste ultimately it goes and settles as an algae. The water quality is also depleting. The biological oxygen demand of that particular water, then recycling of water, membrane filtration, all this over a period of time has to reduce to combat stress on the natural environment. Stress, not I'm not talking about individual stress. I'm talking about the stress which is there on the environment, and is also leading to population also stress, not only on the life of flora and fauna, and also the urban population, people in depression. Only then environmental protection some will have some value. Okay, so what are the kind of things what we can do? One, affordable housing made with either 3D printing or low capital materials which have to be used, like green walls or more of automatic lighting, like that. So these kind of developments are required for the urban systems, not like the closed ones houses which are very big and all. So another thing is greenery or the life lung spaces have to be left. So green infrastructure in action have to be left. These all have to be developed by the upcoming population, or the newer generations only can take all these things, and they can stand for a cause. And urban mobility. So you see, most of the people are switching. Of course, there are over a period of time they're switching to not only cycles but also electrical vehicles and electrical cars, and you got metros. So sustainable cities over a period of time they have to switch over to better ways of spending money on your energy requirements, your spaces of living, as well as green infrastructure, which has to be assured over a period of time by putting manure into this. So, what is a barrier means? Suddenly, rapidly urbanization. Every lakhs and lakhs of population are coming inside the city, and overcrowding, jumping on to metros like anything. Many cities are having sewage waste disposal problem. Everywhere there is garbage, and you don't know how to clean that. You do not have vehicle which comes and automatically takes away, like vacuum cleaner. You don't have. So housing shortages push low income families, and informal settlements also are coming without any kind of planning, and access to clean water, health, basic requirement of a human being. So these disparities deepen social inequality. The urban slums are coming alongside huge buildings. So weak governance is what is the real cause. So weak governance, including corruption, poor coordination, undermines sustainability efforts and reduces the effectiveness of policy implementation. Only on paper they have good policies, but when it comes to implementation, there's no systematic way and progress towards a resilient urban spaces, which is stalled over a period of time. So you can see this slum. Okay, so rising land prices are there, and which has forced the poorer families to go to informal settlement and lack of basic services. They lack all this education, healthcare, and poverty and vulnerability is affecting. See, these kind of disproportionately affected people have to be taken care. They should be given the preference by the NGOs, the non-government organizations, as well as development of better sanitation as well as hygiene and prevention of spread of diseases, and that will create equality amongst all kind of human beings living near each other. So challenges of rapid growth and poor governance. So first we see that urbanization is growing like anything without any accountability, without any kind of check on the balances about these agencies. They should be transparent. The local municipality should know. I should know what is which are the gardens nearby which are funded, which are the roads, which are the flyovers, which are going to cover, how much of that money is coming from where. Then only your local participation has some meaning. If you don't know who is there in the neighborhood, then these kind of challenges will crop up like anything. So governance gaps are there in between people. Rapid cities of growth is the main problem. Infrastructures are not adequate. Overcrowding, congestion is increasing. Cities are facing environmental degradation. These are some of the challenges which people are facing, for which the NGOs have to take up. And decent growth has to happen. So the role of non-profit is simple, but long term it is. It's nothing complicated to understand all those things. It's very easy. The non-profit organizations promotes green spaces. Okay, either it is either recycled already. Your bricks are already recycled. Your paint is already recycled. Your cement, everything is recycled, or it can be recycled in the future. So you have to have green spaces, improved sanitation, regular connection, 24/7 water facility, advocation of active transport. They should have mobility in terms of preventing lifestyle diseases. Lifestyle diseases means sitting at the same place in front of the computer or using mobile phones. You should know what kind of lifestyle diseases the future generation is going to face, and doctors should be able to solve them over a period of time and focus on disease prevention and taking care of washing the hands normally. NGOs can conduct public awareness, waste segregation of wet waste and dry waste, clean energy, clean air, purification of air or air purifiers, and their partnership with governments should help to inclusive policies. So inclusive policies, that is the state government has to fall in line with the central government or both each other like that, and that improve the access to the housing, healthcare, and education. Okay, so education also preferably in one's own language. It has to start at least when the child reaches 7 to 8 years. So what happens is he knows what is the surroundings. That is public awareness campaigns at the childhood level and national level also, and inclusive policy shaping. What kind of policies are there for the public? Okay, depending upon the companies or type of industries they are working, and reducing the inequalities between various lifestyles. Okay, in urban areas, because in it is only in urban area that lifestyle is very, you can say, disparity is huge. Means very posh area, next to that very low lying areas. In villages such kind of a problem normally does not exist, because more or less they are having same kind of settings. So the role of non-profit is to come and create a level playing field in underserved urban area. Okay, if you see a city, the outside city is large, roads are very large. The inside of the city, the roads are small, where people cannot easily pass with the bus and auto rickshaw or something like that. So only the larger cities are becoming large from the outside. In the center of the downtown city, it is like that. I mean, it lying like that only. So this role of non-profit organization is to go through, and you have to take up responsibility in meeting this kind of United Nations goals which they have set over a period of time, and that can come only when there is a widespread public awareness campaigns. Okay. So I suppose I can stop here now. If you're if you're having any questions, please type in the chat box. There's a poll which I have to share. I don't know whether it is launched or not. No. Please give your feedback. And please, all of you give the feedback, because that's what is your attendance resumes. All who are giving feedback is your attendance. I don't know where this question came from. So the previous classes, I don't know why marketing question is coming. Anyway, this is a poll question basically. I have not made this question, it has come up on its own. Yeah, there's one question for question one. It depends unless there's a public awareness campaign. Upon Vignesh says that there's a public awareness campaign or unpublished or published program. There is no reliable way measure of how many people are actually disseminating. Yeah, messages, building partnership, advocating. So any answer is only a half reported estimate. Yes, correct. That is personal good. At least you have responded. Question two, my thought is same. If initiatives and participating data aren't published, you can't know the real numbers. You're only inferring the directly public reports and metrics and rely only on self-reported environment, which varies widely with region and context. Correct. Yeah, it was the only the question was intention. Okay, so question but on Dr. This point. Yeah, how real is this model in India today? Where is it actually working at a scale? Can you give some examples? Okay, I'll include ones in the context of telemedicine. In telemedicine, I can say in Hyderabad, the state of here in there they have started. The government has taken a lot of initiative. I don't know about the other states, but the Hyderabad government has taken it seriously. And can you share 2 to 3 specific India-specific examples of city plus programs of partner for slum telemedicine and rural mobile medicines? As of now, Hyderabad and even Telangana government. So these are the ones who have taken. Nowadays, it's happening in Lucknow also to a certain extent, and so a few examples in Gujarat. But other than that, many cities, I mean, many villages, excluding the many villages in southern country, I mean, southern states, of course, they are there. But if you can travel wide and far north, it is not yet fully picked up in the northern states. But the development has shown its things from Hyderabad, because Hyderabad is also a tourism, medical tourism is also, it is growing there. Okay, nice. People from far away from India or from outside India are also asking. Even in Malaysia, if you are staying in Malaysia, it is known for medical tourism and people are taking it seriously. Okay, nice. It will be helpful for your context of project title, right? It depends upon what kind of title you are going to take, right? The one poll is there. If remaining people are still there, I can start with another poll. There was another poll. Second poll. Yes, launch. Are you able to see the second question? Poll 2. Dash best describes the purpose of marketing information system. I don't know. You are able to answer this or not. The poll has been shared in this meeting. Okay. What kind of project title you are likely to have, Mr. Vignesh?
Still thinking. I'm not sure.
Okay. May I know which country you are staying?
I'm in Singapore.
Nice, nice. Singapore has a lot of taxes for the vehicle, four-wheelers, it seems.
Four-wheelers is very expensive here.
Mhm.
Depending on
But
what
how
you.
would healthcare health? You're able to take the. I mean, people are more aware in order to take the appointments of doctors very early, or they have to wait for some time.
I mean, it's not as easy as in India, to be honest.
Mm.
If
Mhm.
we are to be reliable on public sector,
Mhm.
especially if you want to look for specialist, it's a long waiting time. Let's say
Mhm.
you go to a GP, you fix an appointment, and you are supposed to meet a specialist. It will take
Mhm.
roughly around 2 to 3 months to get an appointment.
Mhm.
It's better than US, but still worse than
Uh-huh.
India. Let's say you miss the appointment for some
Mhm.
reason, and the
Mhm.
next appointment will be scheduled after 3 months or so.
Oh,
So
that becomes a
it's
surprise for all
not.
of us in India. It's a surprise for us because missing an appointment with a doctor, we take it very lightly.
Yeah. For example, let's say you go for a scan and you are waiting
Mm.
for a result to be reviewed with a specialist, and you miss
Mm.
the appointment due to some emergency or something, and
Mm.
you request for a reschedule. The reschedule will
Mhm.
be happening depending on, let's say, cardiology or something will
Mhm.
happen like 6 months
Mhm.
later. Uh,
Mhm.
Depending on the specialty, it will take from 2 to 6 months or even later.
Oh,
So that's
that's too much of a
very unfortunate.
that's a risky
It is.
proposition for certain kind of people. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. But for
Yeah.
private,
Like,
private as I mean, it's
mhm.
okay. But
Mhm.
Singapore being very expensive, I mean, private is
That's
not
what I was.
much.
I was hearing that medical tourism has picked up in Singapore and Malaysia like anything because people from US and
That's
UK come there.
mainly focus on the private tourism, especially on
Mm-hmm.
there's a big Novena hub,
Mm-hmm.
specially built, a city built for tourism, medical tourism,
Mm-hmm.
mostly on private aspect.
Right. Right.
But for locals, if you are relying on public, it's subsidized.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll not say it is
Mm-hmm.
bad. It's really good. But the waiting times, especially if you are reliant on a specialist, is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I still believe that India is much better in that way.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much options.
Let's see. Like everything takes its own time because telemedicine is something which probably it can come with nations between. I mean, certain group of nations which are more familiar with each other can do something which
Yeah,
so far was not explored.
true, true. I mean, I work in digital medtech or
Mm-hmm.
digital diagnostics in a national
Mm-hmm.
platform.
Mm-hmm.
So we work with a lot of startups, a lot of academic units to build to bring the
Mm-hmm.
telemedicine on or the aspect of digital medicine to uh,
Mm-hmm.
at scale. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a big work in progress.
Okay. Fine. All the best for
Thank you. Thank you.
your project report. Yeah. Fine. I'll have to store somewhere. I'll share this PPT in the next class when it is stored on the Google Drive, and even the first and second PPTs I'll be able to share with a link. As of now, I have to create and store it in the Google.
I didn't get the second poll. Uh,
No, that is not. I mean, if you answered one poll, that is your attendance has been confirmed here because this was not launching technically. Even if I press launch here, it's not getting launched. So, not an issue.
okay.
That
Okay. Understood.
doesn't make any
Understood.
big difference.
Understood.
So, thank you one and all for attending this class. Bye bye.
Thank you.